Neon City, a sprawling metropolis pulsing with life, light, and lurking shadows. Above the city's skyline, a figure moved with the agility of a phantom. It was Shadowstrike, a young hero who commanded the darkness. He blended seamlessly with the night, his movements fluid and silent, a testament to years of rigorous training. Beneath the mask, 17-year-old Daniel felt the familiar thrill coursing through him. He loved the rush of adrenaline, the feeling of power that came with protecting his city. But tonight, a knot of anxiety tightened in his stomach. A new villain had emerged, one whose motives were as shrouded in mystery as Shadowstrike himself. Daniel dropped onto the rooftop of a high-rise apartment building. Landing silently, he crouched low, scanning his surroundings with a practiced eye. His suit, a symphony of advanced tech and sleek design, shimmered under the dim moonlight. It was more than just armor, it was his second skin. "Anything, Shadowstrike," a voice crackled through his comm. It was Dr. Lisa, his mentor, and the genius behind his incredible suit. Her voice was calm and steady, the voice of reason that kept him grounded. "Just the usual city symphony, Doc," Daniel replied, his voice a hushed murmur. He continued his patrol, his senses on high alert. A sudden crash from a nearby alleyway shattered the night's quiet. He was instantly on edge. He moved like a wraith, his dark suit granting him near-perfect camouflage in the shadows. Peering into the alleyway, he found a group of thugs surrounding a young woman. Her eyes were wide with fear as they closed in on her, their laughter echoing menacingly. Without hesitation, Daniel sprang into action. He moved with a speed that belied his human form, disarming the thugs with swift, precise strikes. Each blow was calculated, powerful yet controlled, a testament to his dedication to his training. He fought not to hurt, but to protect. The thugs, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the masked vigilante, stumbled back in surprise. They were used to easy targets, not skilled fighters who moved like shadows. As they scrambled to regain their footing, Daniel pressed his advantage. "You picked the wrong night to be a menace," Daniel growled, his voice distorted by his mask. He moved with a fierce grace, disarming one thug after another. He fought with a controlled fury, fueled by his desire to protect the innocent and uphold justice. The thugs, realizing they were outmatched, decided discretion was the better part of valor. They scattered like rats, disappearing back into the labyrinthine alleys from whence they came. The young woman stood there, her chest heaving, shock slowly giving way to relief. Daniel turned to her, his stance relaxed but alert. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice softer now that the threat had passed. The young woman nodded, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. I don't know what they would have done." Her voice trailed off, the unspoken fear lingering in the air. A sense of unease washed over Daniel as he watched the young woman hurry away. This new villain, whoever they were, was casting a long shadow over Neon City. He knew he had to be prepared for whatever came next. The following day, Daniel found himself in Dr. Lisa's high-tech lab, a stark contrast to the dark alleys he patrolled at night.
"You did well last night," Dr. Lisa said, her gaze glued to a series of monitors displaying data from Daniel's suit. "But this new player is different. We need to up our game."
"I'm ready for whatever's coming," Daniel affirmed, his jaw set with determination. He pushed himself harder than ever in the training room, honing his combat skills to razor sharpness. He couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes were about to get much higher. Days turned into weeks, each one filled with relentless training and the nagging fear of the unknown. Daniel poured all his energy into mastering his abilities, pushing his limits further with each passing day. He knew deep down that this was just the calm before the storm.
"You're pushing yourself too hard, Danny," a voice of concern interrupted his thoughts.
It was Jake, his best friend since childhood, and the one person who knew his secret identity. He always knew how to see right through him.
"I have to be ready, Jake," Daniel replied, his voice tight with the weight of responsibility he carried.
He knew Jake worried, but he couldn't afford to be anything less than prepared. The safety of their city, their home, rested on his shoulders. Jake, ever the voice of reason, placed a comforting hand on his arm.
"I know," he said softly, "but even heroes need a break sometimes."
Jake's words struck a chord within him. He knew Jake was right. He couldn't fight this battle alone. They spent the rest of the day away from the pressures of his double life, enjoying each other's company like they always had. It was a much-needed reminder that even in the darkest of times, friendship could be a beacon of light. Part 6. The Shadow Warriors. The peace was shattered one evening when a wave of fear washed over Neon City. A group calling themselves the Shadow Warriors emerged, wreaking havoc with terrifying precision. Their leader, a masked figure known only as the Maestro, possessed an uncanny ability to manipulate shadows, bending them to his will. Daniel watched the news reports with a growing sense of dread. The Maestro's power was unlike anything he'd ever encountered before. This wasn't just another group of thugs. This was a force to be reckoned with. He received an urgent message from Dr. Lisa. "Daniel, we have a situation. The Maestro's powers, they're connected to yours, but amplified. Be careful out there." Her words sent a chill down his spine. As Shadowstrike, Daniel patrolled the city, his senses on high alert. He could feel a darkness seeping into the very fabric of Neon City, a palpable sense of fear that sent shivers down his spine. The Maestro was playing a dangerous game, and Daniel was determined to end it. Part 7. The enemy reveals itself. He found the Shadow Warriors terrorizing a power plant, their shadowy forms dancing menacingly in the flickering lights. The Maestro stood at the center, his presence radiating an aura of power that made the hairs on the back of Daniel's neck stand on end.
"So the Shadowstrike finally graces us with his presence," the Maestro boomed, his voice amplified by some unseen force. "I was beginning to think the city's so-called protector was nothing more than a myth."
Daniel stood his ground, his posture radiating confidence, though his mind raced, strategizing. "Your reign of terror ends tonight, Maestro," he declared, his voice firm despite the tremor of uncertainty that ran through him.
The Maestro let out a cold, mirthless laugh that echoed through the power plant. "Foolish boy," he sneered. "You have no idea of the power you wield, the power I can help you control." His words hung in the air, a tempting offer laced with a chilling undertone.
Part 8. Teamwork makes the dream work. A fierce battle ensued, a whirlwind of shadows and energy blasts. Daniel fought with everything he had, but the Maestro was a formidable opponent, his control over shadows surpassing anything Daniel had ever encountered. He was being pushed to his limit, outmatched and outmaneuvered.
Need a hand, Shadowstrike? It was Sarah, arriving on the scene in a technologically advanced suit of her own, her voice laced with determination.
Dr. Lisa had been working on a backup plan, and it had arrived just in time.
Together, they fought back against the Maestro and his Shadow Warriors. Their teamwork was seamless, a testament to their bond and shared history. Sarah's strategic mind and Daniel's combat skills complemented each other perfectly, turning the tide of the battle. The Maestro, enraged by their defiance, unleashed a wave of raw power, engulfing the power plant in a blinding flash of dark energy. When the dust settled, Daniel and Sarah were gone, vanished without a trace. The Maestro had won the battle, but the war was far from over. Part 9. A New Dawn. The disappearance of Shadowstrike sent shockwaves through Neon City. The citizens, once hopeful for a swift end to the chaos, were plunged into despair. The Maestro's grip on the city tightened, his victory a chilling reminder of his power.
"Where are we?" Sarah asked, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. She looked around, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination.
Unbeknownst to the Maestro, Daniel and Sarah had been transported to a hidden chamber deep beneath the city. They were surrounded by strange technology, the air humming with unseen energy. This was no ordinary place, it felt ancient, powerful. The events of the past few hours swirled in her mind, a chaotic blur of shadows and light. Before Daniel could answer, a voice boomed through the chamber, ancient and filled with wisdom. "Welcome, children," the voice echoed, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You have been chosen. The fate of Neon City and perhaps the world rests in your hands."